All right, so we're diving into Titans today,
Ooh, exciting.
and it's a big deal for software developers like us. You sent over some really interesting research on this, including a paper called Titans, Learning to Memorize at Test Time.
Catchy title.
It is, and I've got our expert here to help break it down, especially like how it could change the way we code, you know?
Yeah, happy to be here, this field is. Well, it's really taking off, and for good reason.
Okay, so picture this. You're debugging this huge code base, or maybe you're going through tons of user data, trying to find a pattern in it. It's kind of like trying to run a program on a computer with not much RAM. You just hit a wall.
That's a great analogy, actually. Right now, even the most advanced AI, like transformers, they have this thing called a context window. And it's basically the amount of information they can handle at once. And the bigger that window gets, the more computationally expensive it gets.
So it slows everything down.
Yeah, exactly.
So as developers, when we're working on these massive projects
Yeah.
or with huge data sets, we run into that same problem. That's where Titans come in, right?
Exactly. Titans are a new kind of deep learning architecture, and they're designed to get past that context window limit. They do this by using something called a neural long-term memory module.
Okay, so it's like giving our AI a much bigger hard drive.
Yeah, pretty much more space to work with.
Okay, I like it.
You can think of it like a developer who's creating this organized library of code snippets. And this neural long-term memory, it learns to pick out and store the most important bits of information from all the data it's processed.
So how does the AI decide what's important enough to remember, though? It's not like we can just tell it, hey, remember this.
Right, that's where it gets really interesting. This neural long-term memory, it's built to recognize what we call surprising events or data points, so things that are out of the ordinary. The network actually calculates something called a surprise metric to find the things that really stand out and need to be stored.
So like an error log that keeps showing
Yeah.
up or some weird user behavior. That's what would be flagged as surprising and saved.
Yeah. Exactly. And when it comes to integrating this long-term memory, Titans have three main approaches.
Okay, lay it on me. I'm all ears. What are the three approaches?
So first up, we have memory as a context, or MSE. It's like having this searchable archive of past solutions that the AI can look back on, kind of like having a senior developer looking over your shoulder, saying, hey, I've seen this before.
Ooh, that sounds pretty handy.
Yeah, that's
What's next?
Next, we have memory as a gate, or MAG. Think of it like a smart filter. It highlights the most relevant code or data based on both recent and long-term memory, like an AI assistant that can kind of predict what you need and focus your attention on the right spots.
Wow, that's impressive. What about the third approach?
All right, so the third one is memory as a layer, or MLL. This one's a little more on the technical side, but basically it compresses past and present information before it processes it. This could potentially speed things up a lot.
Okay, so we've got these three different ways Titans can use memory. Pretty cool. But what does it actually look like for us developers? How does this change the game?
Well, for one thing, think about being able to analyze these massive code bases or data sets without being held back by those context windows. And this paper actually points at something pretty fascinating. These memory modules can work on their own, so even without the usual attention mechanism, long-term memory in AI can still be a game changer.
Okay, now you've got my attention. This sounds really promising. But I bet our listeners are dying to hear about some real-world examples. How can Titans actually help us write better code, debug faster, and maybe even avoid those late-night coding sessions? Let's dig into that after a quick break.
Sounds good. Welcome back.
Okay, so let's dive into the how. How can Titans actually change how we develop software?
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Perfect. Let's start with debugging. I mean, every developer struggles with that. How can AI with this long-term memory help us squash bugs faster?
Imagine an AI debugger that remembers every single line of code you've ever written for a project. It could analyze all the past bugs, look for patterns, and even predict potential issues before they even happen.
That sounds amazing. No more late nights trying to find that one sneaky bug.
Exactly. It could even suggest solutions based on how similar bugs were fixed in the past. It would consider your coding style and the specific context of your project. It's like having a super-powered partner programmer who never needs a break.
Okay, so debugging's covered. What about understanding really complex code? Large code bases can be a nightmare to figure out. Can Titans help us make sense of all that?
Think of an AI assistant that can summarize complicated functions, explain those confusing code snippets, maybe even generate documentation automatically. And because it understands how you think about code, it could give you really personalized insights.
That would be a game changer for onboarding new team members or even just understanding legacy code.
Right. And this long-term memory could also be a game changer for security.
Ooh, yeah.
Imagine an AI that remembers every past security audit, all the known attack patterns, even those tiny code changes that might create vulnerabilities. It's like having an AI security guard watching over your code 24/7.
Okay, so that means much better code security. That's pretty reassuring.
Definitely.
What about code generation?
Ah, good one. An AI with this kind of memory could learn your preferences, understand the project requirements, and actually generate code that's not just correct, but also matches your style and best practices.
So it's not just about making developers faster, it's also about writing better code from the start.
Exactly.
What about code refactoring?
Oh yeah, that's a big one. Titans could look at your whole code base, find areas for improvement, and suggest refactoring solutions that are safe and efficient, and fit with your overall vision for the project.
This is starting to sound like we'll have teams of AI developers working with us.
Well, it's important to remember, this technology is still in its early stages, but the potential is huge. And it's not just about improving individual developers. Titans could lead to totally new ways of collaborating on software.
Okay, now that's interesting. Tell me more.
Imagine a shared AI memory space, where developers can share all their knowledge, their insights, their coding experiences. It would be like a dynamic knowledge base that grows with each project, creating a kind of collective intelligence that's greater than any single person.
Like a collective brain for software
Yeah,
development.
yeah, exactly. This shared memory could even enable new ways of working together, asynchronously, so developers in different time zones, or working on different parts of a project, could seamlessly contribute and build on each other's work.
This all sounds pretty futuristic. Are there any actual examples of Titans being used in development yet?
It's still early days, but researchers are already trying things out. For example, some are working on AI-powered code assistants that remember your coding history and offer personalized recommendations. They might even help you learn new programming languages faster.
So it's not just for experienced developers, it could also help people who are just starting out.
Absolutely. These AI assistants could bridge the gap between developers with different skills and experience levels. Imagine a junior developer getting real-time guidance from an AI that has access to the combined knowledge of the whole team.
That's a fantastic opportunity for the junior developer to learn. And it frees up senior developers to focus on those more complex challenges. It's a win-win for everyone.
Exactly. And remember, this is just the beginning. As research progresses and the technology gets better, we'll see even more incredible uses for Titans emerge.
This has been eye-opening. I feel like I've gone from what are Titans to, wow, this could change everything. It's clear that this technology has the potential to revolutionize software development.
I agree. It's an exciting field with huge potential.
Okay, so we've talked about all the amazing things Titans could do. But no technology is perfect,
Yeah.
right? What are some of the downsides or challenges we should be thinking about?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, like any powerful tool, there are some things to keep in mind. One of the big challenges is how do you manage all the information that's stored in the long-term memory?
Right. If the AI remembers too much, it could get overwhelmed or have trouble finding the right information quickly.
Yeah, it's like having this giant library, but no good way to search it. You might have all the knowledge in the world, but it's useless if you can't find what you need.
Exactly. Having good memory management and retrieval algorithms will be super important for making Titans work well. Another challenge is making sure that the information stored is actually accurate and reliable.
Right, especially in software development. Accuracy is everything. If the AI remembers the wrong information or stuff that's outdated, it could cause some serious problems.
Absolutely. We need strong ways to check the information, update old knowledge, and even forget things that aren't relevant anymore.
So it's not just about remembering, it's about remembering the right things and forgetting the things you don't need. That's a tricky balance.
It is. These are just a couple of the challenges, but they show how important it is. To keep researching and developing this technology, we need to be thoughtful and careful to make sure we're using this power responsibly. This deep dive has been amazing. I feel like I've gone from what are Titans to wow, this could really change everything. It's clear that this technology has the potential to revolutionize how we develop software.
I totally agree. It's a really exciting field with so much potential.
So for our listeners out there, all those software developers eager to see what the future holds, what's the one thing they should take away from this?
I think the main takeaway is this. Titans are a fundamental shift in AI, and they have the power to change how we build software. They open up all these new possibilities for code analysis, debugging, understanding code, security, and working together. And they do this by overcoming those limits of context windows. But we need to be realistic. and recognize both the amazing potential of Titans and the need to think carefully about how we use them.
Well said. To leave our listeners with something to think about, if AI can have long-term memory now, how might that change our whole idea of what software development is? Could AI go from being just a helper to a true partner, contributing new ideas based on its huge memory? Could it even start to predict future trends and challenges in software development? These are some really interesting questions as this technology keeps evolving.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time to be working in this field. I can't wait to see what the future holds for Titans and how they'll change the world of software development.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. But remember, this is just the beginning. We encourage you to check out the research, dig into the technical details, and start imagining how Titans could change your work as a software developer. Thanks for joining us.